Welcome to Terror at Collinwood. 'Tis I, Penny Dreadful, and I am delighted to be joined once again on the podcast by celebrated actress, writer, and Dark Shadows star Kathryn Leigh Scott, and celebrated screenwriter and playwright John Logan, who are joining me today to talk about the new Dark Shadows Legacy book, which is going to blow your mind when you see this book. It's magnificent. Welcome to the show, both of you. It's a pleasure to have you back on.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. We were dying to do this. I'm like, the first person we have to talk to about this book is Danielle. No one else.
Oh, gosh. Well, thank you. I'm honored, and I'm honored to also be showing off the cover of the book here by the magnificent Mark Maddox, who has been on the podcast before as well. It's a gorgeous cover, beautiful painted cover. Absolutely. So how are you both doing today? How are you both feeling?
Doing great.
Yeah,
we're very excited because we approved the proof. It's at the printer, and we're looking forward to having copies in our hands.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
This is why Kathryn's been great, because I know nothing. I've never published a book. I know nothing about publishing. So I'm like, Kathryn, I got something called a proof. What do I do with that? So like all the sort of nuts and bolts of publishing, which is, as you know, it is a world. It is like speaking a different language. Kathryn has been, because she's so experienced in publishing, self-publishing, doing every permutation. Well, if we print in here, our unit costs here, and our sort of ambition was to make it as affordable as possible to the fans, and that's entirely due to Kathryn being so damn savvy.
Yeah, lots of experience with Pomegranate Press coming into play there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Now, for just to set the stage here for people, because we have the Dark Shadows Noir book coming out as well, and several other books, and I've seen fans, they were confusing the two. So I want to make it clear that these are two separate books. The Dark Shadows Legacy book is filled with essays by a variety of contributors, from cast members from all versions of Dark Shadows, the original, the 91 series, the pilot, 2005 pilot, the 2012 Johnny Depp movie. There are essays by fans as well, longtime contributors to the Dark Shadows fandom as well. Lots of variety there about many different topics, not to mention photographs, rare photographs, some I've never seen before in all these years, which was really cool to see. Artwork too in the mix. So whose idea was this to do this book, and how did this come about?
Well,
Just say something before you start, John.
Please.
Danielle, you're being very modest because you contributed to Dark Shadows Legacy, and it's a wonderful. Actually, isn't it two pieces? Yeah. And they're wonderful. So
thank you very much.
yeah,
Thanks for asking me to
Thank
contribute.
you. I think John and I are both astounded by all of the writing talent among not only the Dark Shadows actors, but among the fans and everybody who contributed to the book. We're really grateful.
Yeah, it is. I'll tell the Genesis story in a sec, but it is amazing when, longtime fan John Logan, run home from school, is on the phone with like Lizette Anthony. Or I call my friend Ava Green and say, will you write something for us? And just the way people were completely open to like whatever you want, and people like you and like Stuart Manning and people who are like really knowledgeable, like Ansel, just like, I'm like, okay, I need another piece. We need a piece about this. And we're just willing to like hop in, which was very flattering. So I'll tell our Genesis story, which Kathryn and I love this story. So as you know, Danielle, I was trying to reboot Dark Shadows as a series, and you've read the scripts, and I worked really hard on it. It was like a labor of love. And Maggie Evans was featured. Maggie Evans Collins was featured because I'm like, well, I don't want to do it without certain elements like Collinwood, like Maggie, like our version of it, And so I got to know Kathryn. I'm sure, like, I emailed you very nervously. I don't know, saying like, "Hi, you don't know who I am," but uh, and so we became really fast friends. So we were having dinner at one of Kathryn's favorite little like East Side restaurants, and we just were catching up on the world. And I was walking home to my hotel, and I thought, you know something, the 60th is coming up, and Kathryn's a publisher, and I've never done a book before, but I think there's something exciting to be done. And then I called Kathryn and said, could we do like a coffee table essay book about, and here to me is the significant thing, all of Dark Shadows. It's not just the original series, it's not just the movies. It encompasses the fandom, the merchandising, the comic books, the novels, all the movies, the various iterations. And Kathryn immediately said, let's, in typical Kathryn Leigh Scott fashion, said, let's do it, and that was it. And it's been an incredible adventure since then.
I thought that my last book would be the 50th anniversary book, Return to Collinwood. I never dreamed that I would be doing another book, but this is completely different from that. That was 5 decades of Dark Shadows. This is 6 decades, but it delves into areas that obviously we didn't go into at all in Return to Collinwood. And I have to say, I was very impressed with John, who came to Lyndhurst when I did a weekend there. It was over a year ago, and knowing that he was coming and that we were going to have, I needed some time with him, and so I made little smoked salmon sandwiches, a little picnic basket, and Lyndhurst staff put the two of us in what was my dressing room when we did House of Dark Shadows. And I hadn't been in there in, I don't know, 50 odd years. And it was really wonderful to just sit there and chat with John and realize the depth of his knowledge of Dark Shadows. It was amazing, things that I wasn't aware of. And so when John suggested doing a book, it seemed obvious. And this is really, he hates that I say this, but this book is really John's vision. And he has an incredible design sense and a visual sense and all of this knowledge. So that's what makes this very different from any of the pomegranate books that I've done. And I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, I'm proud of it too, because it's the first book that's had my name on it, other than like play scripts. And so, it's hard to create anything, period. It's hard to create anything. And you need a partner. You need someone you can trust, you can vet, you can bitch to, you can just really talk about honestly about everything. And Kathryn and I talk all the time, and that was it. We work hand in glove. And I also have to give like the biggest shout out possible to two people without whom we couldn't have done the book. First is Jim Pearson, who was so open to the idea and so sort of multi-tentacular, reaching into his archives and pulling this and this. And when I would say to him, okay, I need some more pictures from 91 of this character, he would do it and he would find it and get these beautiful high resolution photos. So he supplied us with, the bread and butter of the visual element of the show. And secondly, and just as importantly, Ansel Faraj. Because, Ansel, very well, we all know very well, and it's just an incredibly intelligent, and sensitive and sort of passionate advocate for art generally, but also for Dark Shadows. So because he and I live in LA, we would get together, we would talk to Kathryn, we would sort of curate our ideas, that he and I would get together and go through thousands of photographs. Yeah. And then we'd send samples to Kathryn, say, what about this for this idea? What about this for a frontispiece? What about this? And so without Jim Pearson and Ansel Faraj, this book would not exist.
Wonderful. Yeah, and I have to say, when I spoke with Dan Herman this morning, he said, look, kudos to your designer. Cheryl Carrington has done almost all of the Dark Shadows books. And he said, I don't know how she did this and how long it took, but I mean, it's all pictures. And I mean, obviously, we have the essays as well, but it is essentially a coffee table book that's very visual, and it's just chock full of photographs.
Now, and this is Dan Herman is involved, but it's being published
Oh
by
yeah, no, yeah,
Cumberland.
this is a Cumberland Press book, which is an imprint for that John and I have. But he's facilitating with the printing, and he does beautiful books. I think your audience is well acquainted with Dan Herman's books with Hermes Press.
Yes, absolutely. Now, you said this is very distinct from previous Dark Shadows books that you've done, and it certainly is. The essays, the variety of essays covering all of these different topics. What are some that come to mind for both of you that that really stand out to you that you think fans will really enjoy?
Oh, for me, Lizette Anthony wrote the most beautiful lyrical uh, preface to the book. The preface or I can't remember. The
Forward.
introduction to the book, right? And um, and also Stuart Manning is a terrific writer,
Yeah.
and Patrick McRae, his wit and
Yes.
his turn of phrase is absolutely wonderful. Uh,
Yeah.
but it's hard to point to any particular essay. I mean, Eva Green wrote a really wonderful essay, and she talked about Tim Burton, who directed her in the 2012 Dark Shadows. Um, John, do you have any favorites among
Well,
the
I mean, they're all my favorites. They're all my two. But
I have to
I
say
was
the same.
I was very happy that Matthew Hall, contributed because, I'm a huge fan of the Revival series. In fact, at the Dark Shadows event, I think I'll be moderating that panel, which makes me super excited. And so to read his observations about his mother and about what Dark Shadows meant to him and how it was a complicated moment in his life, and writing very honestly from the heart, I thought was, fantastic. And I was also really happy to get Alec Newman
Yes.
because I think that sort of the uncelebrated Warner Brothers pilot had great potential to be something extraordinary, and I thought he was fantastic in it. And Alec is a terrific actor, who's also done some of the Big Finish, so he's deeply acquainted with sort of all things Dark Shadows. And I guess to me, kind of the one of the jewels of the crown is Barbara Steele because
Yeah.
when you have an interaction with someone who worked with Mario Bava, who worked with Fellini, you just realize you're talking to a significant person in the arts. And not just Julia Hoffman or the producer of, Winds of War and War and Remembrance, but someone who has a legacy. And so when those people speak, you know, you lean in because respect has to be paid to those artists who came before us and had such a long and varied career. Um, yeah, I was so thrilled when people just said yes.
And even Donna McKechnie, who's this wonderful musical comedy dancer actress. Uh, she wrote a charming piece. So I don't think I don't think we can point to a
Yeah.
favorite. It's
Uh,
just wonderful, wonderful blend.
yes.
It really is.
Several of the original cast members, in addition to Donna McKechnie, are represented as well. Marie Wallace, James Storm, David Selby. And you wrote some beautiful pieces as well, Catherine, about Joan Bennett
Yeah.
and Grayson Hall, your memories of Grayson Hall, which made me chuckle, and that was really fun to read. Uh, and John, your introduction or forward, it was absolutely beautiful and very touching about the fire that took your home and how your Dark Shadows family kind of came together. And I loved that. That was
It
beautiful.
was it was one of the most profoundly moving moments of my life because imagine 63 years of your life taken away overnight. Everything. Every memento, collectible, things I mean, like my original Barnabas Collins game, and all that stuff was all gone. And, Catherine arrived first with an armful of books and said, rebuild your library. And all of sort of I like to call it my horror family, that community of people who are attracted to genre, came through in such a beautiful way. I didn't ask, they just delivered. you, Danielle, so many people, Ansel Farage brought me a great Return of Count Yorga poster because he knows I love that movie. And we exist in a marginalized genre in horror or terror or gothic romance or whatever it is, science fiction sort of as well. And people have an opinion about us, I think, from the outside, about horror literature, even Poe or Lovecraft,
Sure.
is not taken as seriously because it's not real. It's not real literature. It's not real movies. This is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's not a real movie. And when you see the gentleness and the support and the benevolence of the horror community, if you're lucky enough to be a part of it, as we three are, you know what a loving environment it is. And so that experience with my house reminded me of that. And I would never have had that experience if my house hadn't burnt. I wouldn't have realized how generous and caring our community is.
Absolutely.
It's lovely.
Another one thing I want to bring up that I mentioned at the top of the show was Mark's cover. Mark, of course, multi-Rondo Award-winning. His shelves must be collapsing under the weight of all the Rondo Awards he's won, and just won two more recently, and he's well deserved, by the way. So, how did that come about? How did your decision to go with Mark for the cover come about?
Well, I said to Kathryn, look, I really love Mark Maddox's work because I'd commissioned a painting from him. You've seen it, Dan. I've sent it to the painting
Yes.
that he did for me. I commissioned a painting of my four favorite 70s vampires. And there was Barnabas was in the center, and it was Blackula, it was Count Yorgo, it was Yana Scorzani from The Night Stalker, and he did the most beautiful oil painting. And it's when you come and visit my house, it is front and center in the living room. It's the first thing you see. And I said, I think he's a genius artist. So I got in touch with him. He loved this idea from the beginning. He just loved everything about it. And then working with Kathryn, we sort of curated the idea. And all that Kathryn and I said to him to start, and then there was a lot of refinement, which I want to talk about, which was we wanted to represent all of Dark Shadows, every single iteration of it, not just Jonathan Frid, not just, Johnny Depp. We wanted to represent everything. And that's exactly what he created. I insisted personally on I need Count Petofi.
Yes.
There's certain things I was
I
very
knew
like,
that was your doing. I was like,
oh,
"God."
totally, totally. And Mark and I discussed the relative size of certain images. Well, is Grayson Hall featured enough? How do we balance that in some way? And the biggest discussion we had, you'll remember this, Kathryn, was about Johnny Depp and Ava Green on the cover. And he
Yeah.
said that might prove controversial because so many people in our community have a negative reaction to that film. To which I said, they can have a negative reaction. It is part of our legacy. Some
Exactly.
people love
Yeah.
that movie,
Yeah.
some people hate that movie. It is a significant part of our legacy.
Yeah.
Also, Ava Green is my muse, and I would do anything in the world for her and to help and to feature her. So that was the most substantive discussion we had about that.
It's it's interesting because I know there's negative reaction among the fans toward because it's not Dark Shadows as we know it, but Tim Burton did bring Jonathan Frid, Laura Parker, David Selby, and me to Pinewood to have cameos in that film. How many of these films are done by about other when they do a reboot? And the people who originated those characters are totally forgotten. So I do respect Tim Burton and Johnny Depp, who were both fans of the show, grew up as kids who ran home from school to watch it, bringing us in, including us.
Yeah. And I love that picture of all of you together
Yeah.
with Johnny Depp and Tim Burton all standing there, and you can tell that they're delighted that you're all there with them. So that's
Yes.
really cool. And you mentioned Jonathan Frid. I forgot to mention Mary O'Leary also wrote a piece on Jonathan, which was really good. Guy Haynes did a nice little piece on Dark Shadows couples, and you mentioned Patrick too. Both of he wrote two pieces, which were great. Stewart's pieces which one of the pieces he wrote was hilarious. It was just very witty. I could just hear his voice as I was reading it. It was great.
Yeah.
Ansel wrote some great pieces too, including about working with the Dark Shadows cast members and his experience doing that. And I hope he writes a book someday about that because he hinted at that in the
Yes.
essay he wrote. I thought, oh, he's got to write that. That would be really cool.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned Mary O'Leary because not everyone lives in LA and not everyone's available. Mary made herself so available to me to just talk about Jonathan Frid. Something I've wanted to do since I was 10. And Catherine's told me some things, but to really we've had a number of lunches where we sort of talk about things, and she's so honest and open about it. We thought, well, we have to write about Jonathan Frid. There's only one person on earth who can do it. So Mary has been so generous with her time and her care that it's greatly appreciated by Kathryn and I.
Yeah, and she's handling a lot of the programming at the 60th anniversary event. So looking forward to that. So with that in mind, what are the plans for the release of the book, and how are fans going to be able to get it?
Well, by the way, all of the people that we've mentioned who are contributing to the book are going to be at the festival, except for Eva Green. But we have so many of the people who contributed to the book there. So we will have the book available at the Dark Shadows Festival, and I'm sure all of them are going to want to sign because they're in the book. It'll be available on Amazon, and we are distributing through a Dark Shadows family favorite, MPI. They have been wonderful over the last 40 years, bringing out the DVDs and all of the everything from those lunch pails to Josette's music box and everything, all of the things that they've done, and they're the perfect people to distribute our book. So I'm really glad that we have that relationship with them. So the book will be available through MPI. It'll also be on Amazon, of course.
Okay.
And my website.
Oh, good.
And everything that we can think of, that book will be made available.
But hopefully they can get.
Do you have a website?
I don't have a website.
Okay. All right.
Well, hopefully people, be able to get it at your table at the festival. I forgot to mention when I listed the Dark Shadows original cast members, I was remiss in not mentioning the wonderful Sharon Smith Lentz. Also wrote a piece, and
Didn't she write a wonderful piece?
I loved it.
Read the book. Isn't it lovely?
Oh, it really is. Just her experience.
I'm looking forward to meeting Sharon, because you get from being on your show and reading her piece that she has a heart as big as Texas.
She does, yeah.
She's all heart, which I love, and I think it's great that Kathryn and I did this. We didn't do this to make money. We didn't do it to get famous. We did it because we love the show so much, and we did it for the fans. So I'm most looking for. Obviously, I'm looking forward to having a book with my name on it next to Kathryn's. This is very cool. By the way, she insisted my name go first. This is the one argument
that's the most. I think that's the only dissension between us.
Correct.
And it took me a number of months, and then it took a face-to-face dinner where I just said, "Your name has to go first." Anyway, you finally agreed, but it was a bit of a battle. So I'm glad.
But what I'm really looking forward to is being at the convention and handing it to fans and just saying, we did this for you. And if no one in the world reads this or understands it, but the people in this hotel right now, we have done great service.
Yeah.
Oh, people are going to love it, guaranteed. I did want to ask about doing the layout for it. Who did that? Was that you, John?
Oh, that was Cheryl Carrington.
Okay.
But she's, a book like this is a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
And to work with somebody that you've never worked with before is impossible. And she's done, she did Return to Collinwood. She's done everything back to the book that came out after the Dark Shadows Companion. All of the books since then. And I think the Dark Shadows Companion may come the closest to this because... I asked everybody, including George DiCenzo and Dan Curtis. They all contributed pieces to that book. But it's certainly not a picture book, not like this one is. And that was done, I think, on the 20th anniversary. So it's a long, long time ago. So bringing Cheryl Carrington back to do the layouts, I think made it easier for all of us.
It
Yeah.
certainly made it easier for me because I would like, Catherine understands the jargon. It's like, well, we're doing some shadows on these pictures. I'm like, I don't know what that means. It's like it's a half tone, half. I was like, oh no, don't. But Cheryl was so patient in like explaining these things to me. So this is not only being like the funnest experience ever, it's also being so educational. So with my next book, I'm ready to go.
Wait a minute, John. It's been educational for me too. I'm a big fan of drop shadows. I discovered very quickly that you said, "Why is the picture floating on the page?" Okay, no more drop shadows. And because we all have a visual sense, and John's is very acute. So I very often deferred to you because I wanted to see a different version, a different vision, put it that way, of the Dark Shadows books. And this is not like any of the other books that's ever been published about Dark Shadows. So fitting that it should be our 60th anniversary book.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I agree that it's the Dark Shadows Companion is the one that's the most evocative of this book, but this one is very different just because definitely the visuals, the photos, the artwork, etc. It's just and it has a whole different vibe to it because it's the 60th anniversary. So it has its own distinct vibe. But John, I did not miss what you said there when you said next book. I caught that. So
What do you have in mind?
No, I mean, people ask me that all the time, honestly. They want my memoirs of Hollywood, and I'm not interested in that. But I was thinking if I ever write anything, it's going to be a book of essays about horror films, about what horror means and why it's important. Because I do think it's important. It's like, you can go back to Aristotle, and read about the importance of catharsis and emotion and crisis, and that's what horror movies are at their best, So, but I've got plenty to keep me busy in the meantime.
I know you do,
yes,
but this is the first I've heard of this, John, and I'm thrilled. And your agent could put you in touch with a big legacy publishing company, and that would be a sensational book.
Yeah,
So
I love like Catherine
yeah.
is my friend, my colleague, and my manager, clearly.
no, but listen, your agent would tell you this thing.
Oh,
That's a
Well,
terrific topic, and to do a book of essays about that, with your depth of knowledge of horror and so on, I think would be fabulous.
I would love
Look
that.
forward to that one.
I would love that.
okay, right.
Well, how about some closing thoughts that you want to leave people with regard to the Dark Shadows Legacy book? Any additional things that either of you would like to add or let fans know about the book? Did we
I
talk
do
about the
have
price point? Do we have a price point on it?
Yes, it's $39.99, which
Okay.
is the most expensive book that I have done, but I'm astonished at what the prices are like because of the cost of just paper and ink. Um, I loved it when John opened our little discussion today by saying that the most important thing was to keep the book affordable to the fans. We want this in the fans' hands, and a coffee table book is generally very expensive. So I think that our price point of $39.99, it's it's the rock bottom price that you can do for a book this size, and with that many images and full color, and with the cover by Mark Maddox.
Is it hardcover or soft
It's
cover?
hardcover,
Oh,
yes.
okay. Oh, great.
Yeah, and I haven't done a hardcover since uh, Dark Shadows Companion.
Companion. Yeah,
I mean, so this is that, and that was what, 35 years ago?
I
Yeah,
think so. I think
I
it was,
haven't done a hardcover since. So
yeah.
I'm really proud that for the 60th we're doing a hardcover, and to do that quality and in a hardcover at $39.99 is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
John?
yeah. All I want to add is I'm delighted that you're going to be premiering the Mark Maddox cover because I think it's magnificent, and we wanted always for you to premiere it. So I'm so thrilled you're doing that. And then second, I have to share
Thank
a
you.
personal story,
Yeah.
which is Danielle. You know that I went to the Universal Studios Scooby-Doo fan night like
Yes,
a
yes.
week ago, and I wore my like my,
Yay.
Collinwood t. I was wearing the Eric Marshall one, but I was wearing like my Tara Collingwood t-shirt. And I was like, going along to meet Scooby. And someone said to me, "Oh, I love that show." I said, "Dark Shadows?" I said, "No, Tara Collingwood."
What? No
I know,
way.
seriously, I like the podcast. And the guy was like, "Yeah."
How's
I was like,
that?
"I've been on it." He had no interest
That's
in me.
awesome.
But he's like, "That show is so cool. She talks to everyone and it's so warm and embracing." So you have at least a huge fan who
Ah,
loves what we do.
Oh, I love
ah,
that.
that's awesome. Well, I'm glad I paid that guy to go
I'm
say
just
it. No,
trying
no,
to
I'm just
I'm,
kidding.
I'm trying to visualize you at a Scooby-Doo.
I'll send you the photographic evidence. Then you
Did
can you can put it on the YouTube thing, Danielle.
did you awesome? Did you go to the Universal Monsters? The
That's only in Florida,
Oh, okay. Okay.
sadly.
Yeah, I want to check that out too.
Oh, me
That's
too.
This is going to be a big year for Dark Shadows. I mean, it's growing all the time. I mean, you know that a few of us will be at Monsterama, and that's
yeah,
after the Dark Shadows Festival. So there are lots of things planned, and this has to be a big celebration.
Yeah, and because I think it's like this is an opportunity for Dark Shadows to become a very relevant part of the genre conversation again. We know it is, but people who might be a little curious, oh, I've heard about that, or maybe I saw that movie. And with all this stuff coming, Dark Shadows Noir, our book, Samantha Accusos, all this stuff is coming out, the
Yeah.
60th anniversary. I hope it like opens the door for some people who'll step in. And wherever as we've always discussed, wherever you step in, fine.
yeah,
You can step in with Count Patofi, you can step in with Gwen, you can step in with Barnabas or Julia or whomever, or with Johnny Depp or with Ben Cross. Step in somewhere.
yeah,
I hope
And
that
what's
happens.
interesting, of course, is that you know from Lyndhurst and from the other festivals that we have 10, 11, 12-year-olds showing up who are discovering the show because it's available everywhere. Peacock, Tubi, Prime Video, Netflix. There's so many ways to watch it now, and ways that didn't exist, of course, when we were doing the show. So I think that this fandom is a lot broader than we think. But it's not just the people that show up at Lyndhurst or at the festivals. I live in a little village here in New York, and somebody heard my voice standing behind me at the post office and said, "Are you Maggie Evans?" So I think that there are an awful lot of people who ran home from school to watch and are probably, now newly discovering it, who are part of this fandom that we don't even know about. But I
yeah,
think that in this year, when we're going to be having so much promotion for these various events, um, we'll find them.
yeah, absolutely. I wonder if there's anything happening if we mentioned Monsterama, which I'm looking forward to, and they just added Sharon as a guest too, Sharon
Thank
Smith.
God.
Yeah, I
Yes.
was excited that she was.
I
So,
said she just
yeah,
has to be there,
yeah,
and I'm delighted. And you're going to be there,
yes, and Jeff
and Jeff
Thompson,
Thompson is,
James
and
Storm.
Jim Storm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So that'll be fun. Anthony sent an email asking for panel ideas. So I did
yeah,
one time at a local Monster Expo convention. They asked me to do a Dark Shadows 101 panel to introduce people to the show. And one of the people that attended the panel bought the coffin box after attending he sent me a message on Facebook. He said, I bought the coffin box set, the DVD set. So that was pretty cool. So I suggested that maybe that might be a good thing for to introduce new fans to it that might be curious about it. I think something like that is just to open the door, like John was saying, and have an entry point. Like, hey, this is what you've heard of this. Here's what it is. But I think we're going to have a lot of people at the 60th anniversary event for sure. I hear the tickets are selling
oh
very
yeah,
well.
they are.
So
Yeah,
so
yeah,
if anybody who's listening who is on the fence and wants to get a ticket, they are still available at Eventbrite. So I definitely encourage you because this is a big deal. This is Dark Shadow 60th Anniversary Festival. There might be some exciting announcements there. Uh, really, some new merchandise that's going to be premiering at the
yeah.
event. The largest gathering of cast members in a very long time was probably since the 50th, right?
Yes,
So
we could have between 15 and 16 actors there, and that hasn't happened since the 90s.
yeah,
And um, and now MPI assured me that they have the Josette's Music Box back in stock.
Yay.
Because I asked them, because John, one of the things John said right from the beginning, we have to have a dealer's room. We have to,
Yes, agree.
we have to have all of the, the MPI merchandise there. And I spoke with somebody at MPI the other day, and I asked them what was going to be there, and they I think Josette's Music Box topped the list. I'm thrilled.
Yay,
They're
great.
going to be writing my name very small.
All the previous versions of it that they've released are very expensive on the secondary market now. So it's great that they're bringing that back out. I know Mark Maddox is going to have a table there too. He's going to be,
Yes.
And his table is always magnificent because he has all of his prints on display. They're going to be really, you want to grab a Mark Maddox print for sure. I have one of the lunchbox cover that he did. But well, thank you to both of you. It's such a pleasure to talk with you both again. I very much look forward to seeing you both this summer. I can't wait. Good times ahead. So thank you again for joining me. And folks, be sure to keep your eyes out for the Dark Shadows Legacy book. As soon as I hear anything about it being available via MPI or Amazon, I will definitely announce it in the news segment of the podcast, and I'll include a link in the show notes when it becomes available, or pick it up in person at the Dark Shadows 60th Anniversary Festival. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you, Danielle. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Terror at Collinwood is a Penny Dreadful production.